documentary showing the grim realities of an embalmer in one of the most violent neighborhoods in Colombia, real autopsies, toxic mucus, nightmarish exercise tapes, and mysterious incidents. These are disturbing VHS tapes you should never watch. This has to be one of the grimmest documentaries ever released. Definitely one of the most raw. No flashy editing here, it's pretty much as real as it gets. Orozco the Embalmer is a 2001 Japanese documentary that feels way more like a leaked police file than an actual movie. It follows a guy named Froilan Orozco, an embalmer working in one of the roughest parts of Bogota, Colombia. The place was called El Cartuco. It's been torn down and replaced by a park, but at the time this documentary was made, it was basically a war zone. You'd often find bodies just laying in the street. Because there were so many bodies coming in, Orozco didn't have the luxury of a fancy sterile lab. He worked in this cramped, grimy room that looks more like an abandoned basement than a funeral home. The film mostly consists of him doing his day-to-day as an embalmer. There's no background music or educational narration to kind of take the edge off. The camera just hovers over him while he works on people who were clearly victims of violent attacks. And you see everything, the draining, the stitching. You'll be casually chatting or smoking a cigarette while doing things that would make most people pass out. It's just business as usual. Yeah, not a family-friendly popcorn kind of flick unless your parents are Gomez and Morticia Addams. Same goes for this next one, The Act of Seeing with One's Own Eyes. This is a silent film from 1971 that was shot inside a Pittsburgh morgue, and it's arguably one of the most difficult things to sit through. The title is actually the literal translation of the word autopsy, and that's exactly what the tape is. For about 30 minutes, there's no music, no talking, it's just 16mm footage of real autopsies being performed one after another. Filmmaker Brian Fry had this to say after watching the film, and based on this description, I don't think this is something I ever want to sit through. The key image of the act of seeing with one's own eyes is quite likely the bluntest statement on the human condition ever filmed. In the course of an autopsy, the face of each cadaver is literally peeled off like a mask, revealing the raw meat underneath. That image, once seen, will never leave you. End quote. And I have no doubt it would never leave me, and that's why this one is better left unseen. Thank you very much. Next, let's talk about what are often referred to as the basement tapes, private video journals of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the two attackers responsible for the 1999 Columbine. They recorded about 2 to 3 hours of footage in their bedrooms and basements in the months leading up to the attack. Long, rambling rants where they'd sit on camera and talk about their hatred for everyone around them, surrounded by the weapons they were about to use. There's a specific part where they even apologize to their parents for what they're about to do. The public never got to see these tapes. They didn't want impressionable young men being exposed to Eric and Dylan's disturbing worldview. I mean, if this happened today, though, these two probably would have just streamed all this online and the footage would be all over the web. Back then, though, the idea of getting this up close and personal with the perpetrators of such a grisly attack, it was a very novel and unsettling concept. Only a few people, mostly investigators and some of the victims' families, were ever allowed to view them. To make sure they never leaked and couldn't cause any more harm, the original VHS tapes and all the copies were destroyed in 2011, and now the only thing that exists are the written transcripts. Alright, this is a really strange one. This gross footage originally aired on a public access television show called Something's Happening. The guy in the footage is a man named Arthur Bloom, and I'm not really sure how to explain this one. Let's just hear what he has to say.
This is 4 filters of toxic fat that you are looking at. I take out of my mouth in the morning, 4 and 4 at night.
I don't know, do you get it? Make sense? No? Well, let's continue. Maybe this will shed some light on this.
Grape juice. This is what we use to extract the mucus. I'm going left and right inside the mouth, left and right, and this is liquefying this mucus, just liquefying.
So he sprays some grape juice in his mouth to liquefy toxic mucus that he spits into some kind of container. Then he throws this gunk on a rock and burns it with a torch. I don't know what to say about this. I'd love to say that is enough internet for today, but we're only halfway through this list. In almost every list of disturbing VHS tapes, Faces of Death is mentioned. Faces of Death advertised itself as a collection of genuine pieces of death footage, but almost everything on screen was actually staged, aside from a couple pieces of news footage. But in 1993, another shock tape was released, Traces of Death. And this one really was what Faces of Death claimed to be. Nothing but gruesome, very real footage of death, along with crass narration, making light of all the horrendous things you're watching on screen. Sometimes just outright making fun of the people who died. As you can imagine, this was pretty controversial. It's been described by the British Board of Film Classification as having, quote, no journalistic, educational, or other justifying context for the images shown. But you could pick this tape up from your local rental store back in the day. There were 4 sequels, and as the series went on, it started incorporating death metal music for the soundtrack. There was, and very much still is, an audience for this. Can't say I'm one of them. I've scrubbed through some of this just so I kinda know what I'm talking about here, but I could never sit through an entire thing, nor would I ever want to. It's exactly what it sounds like, nothing more, nothing less. The tape Death Scenes from 1989 isn't like the usual low-quality shock videos you find online. It's actually a compilation of real LAPD archival footage and crime scene photos from the 30s and 40s. What this one is most infamous for, though, is its narrator, Anton LaVey, the guy who started the Church of Satan. Definitely adds a more disturbing layer to it for some. The tape covers everything from organized crime hits to bizarre accidents. For a long time, people traded this on VHS and argued about whether it was actually real. Some thought it looked too staged to be genuine police work, leading to rumors that it was some kind of underground fake, but no, it is 100% authentic. This next one is a different kind of creepy in a David Lynch nightmare kind of way. I mean, just take a look at this bizarre looking scene. An elderly woman standing dead center in the frame in a nightgown at the foot of her bed doing a series of strange movements, exercises. There's no music, there's no narration, it's just complete silence the entire time, aside from the low hum of the tape. It has a certain haunted, cursed element about it. The video was posted online years ago. The uploader had no idea where it originally came from. It was just this mysterious video. Was it some kind of elderly exercise tape? A piece from a cult video? Well, about 6 years ago, a Reddit user named Party Girl managed to provide some context. She said her friend was the videographer. This rich lady thought that she discovered this new niche health ritual that she was going to try and film and sell as an instructional tape. By the way, tons and tons of lo-fi shot at home instructional tapes like this were actually sold in stores back in the day, so there are hidden gems like this in basements and garbage dumps all over the world. Anyway, Reddit user's friend said he shot around 6 hours of footage of this woman doing this odd routine, which he named Slap Happy, because at one point she repeatedly slaps herself. He edited all the footage down to about an hour, and the tape was never released. How this clip ended up online is anybody's guess. The image you're looking at here is supposedly a screenshot from a lost VHS tape recorded just moments before a murder during a high school volleyball game. Now, the story is dubious at best, but there are lots of posts by people distinctly remembering a news story about this, only now you can't find any information on it. It's become an internet urban legend, but supposedly back on September 27, 2006, during a high school girls' volleyball game in North Dakota, a deadly broke out. This still frame from a home video hit the internet, and then these images showed up on a message board called Late Nights, supposedly screenshots captured during or after the incident took place, showing the gruesome aftermath. Again though, if you actually try to look this story up, you find absolutely nothing. There are no news archives, no local paper clippings from 2006, no obituaries for the players, and no police records. It has zero digital footprint, but there's a conspiracy about the whole thing being covered up by the US government. Why? Well, the story goes they were trying to take someone out who was attending the game, but then everything went wrong. Innocent people were caught in the crossfire, so they covered the whole thing up to avoid the publicity and paid off the families to keep quiet about it. Far-fetched, but some people also have another theory about this one, that it fits more into the Mandela effect category. Like it really did happen and was reported on, but then the timeline switched and suddenly the only trace of it left behind are in the memories of people who remember it being reported back in the day. It's a very eerie story, but I don't know what I think about it. Back in 1995, a guy named Ray Santilli claimed to have stumbled onto a black and white VHS tape allegedly showing a secret military autopsy of an alien. The footage was unsettling to say the least. It looked super convincing, like something you just were not meant to be seeing. It shows this pale, bloated figure with 6 fingers on a table being methodically cut open by figures in white biohazard suits. When this hit, it wasn't presented as a movie. It was sold as a genuine 1947 government film recovered from the Roswell crash. People were genuinely repulsed by how genuine the body looked. It didn't look like a rubber puppet, it looked like a corpse, just not a human one. Even after Santilli eventually admitted it was a reconstruction, the rumor mill had already spent years insisting the footage was real and that the actors were actually covering up the existence of a much more disturbing original tape that the government had suppressed. All that said though, that's been the video for today. I'll catch you, yes you specifically, next time.